systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What is happening, Ship It Nation family? It is your boy Belman 967 here to break down another NBA slate. Today it is Saturday, November 22nd. Another 4 games on DraftKings. I'm digging these 4-game slates. Pretty easy to break down. Quick video for you guys. I know that's what people want on Saturday. So without further ado, let me pull up the stone and we will dive in. All right, we should be good to go. Sweet. All right, 4 games in play tonight. I think there's pieces to like from all the games. We've got 2 early games and then a late game, all of which are not on the slate. So just this 4-gamer, a little bit of a sprint slate, starting at 7, ending at 8:30. Bunch of teams played last night, so we'll get into that with those specific teams. And let's just dive in here. So starting off, we've got Atlanta at New Orleans. Atlanta is an 8.5-point favorite here on the road. They're projected to score 119.5 points. New Orleans coming off a win last night, but we know not a very good team. So Atlanta just the better overall squad in this matchup. From an injury standpoint, Okongwu is questionable. So if he's out, I think that would make someone like Kristaps Porzingis that much more viable. Already in play at 6,700, projecting pretty well with a high ceiling, as we know. So if Okongwu is out, I think you start to look at Porzingis even more. Jalen Johnson would become a better play. He's already a great play as is. His projection is off from site to site. We're projecting him for only about 40 fantasy points. Other places have him for close to 50. So we'll have to wait and see if that evens out. I think he's going to look like one of the better plays on the slate at 9,700. He's just been so good. I like this spot for him. New Orleans is playing decent enough right now. At least they looked decent enough last night where I think this game could be competitive and you get full Jalen Johnson run. He's my favorite piece of Atlanta. He's pretty much always going to be my favorite piece. Okongwu's in play if he's in. Don't love that he's nursing an injury, but if he's in, I presume he's good to go. If he's out, like I said, Porzingis becomes that much more viable. I think you can look at Nickeil Alexander-Walker, a little revenge spot for him if you're into that sort of thing. I like him over Dyson Daniels at a little bit cheaper of a tag, although their tags are close enough now where I think it is a close call there. Other than that, not much I'm like loving from Atlanta right now. We just have a bunch of good spots on this slate. So speaking of good spots, New Orleans here. Zion played last night, so he's not going to play tonight. Jeremy Fears with a really, really big game last night. His price tag fell. He's all the way down to 4,800. He looks good. Doesn't project amazing, but he's got a high ceiling, and his tag is nice in what should be a competitive, high-scoring game. Trey Murphy looks good here. 7K, projects well, high ceiling. Other than Queen, I would say he's my favorite piece of New Orleans, then Fears. But, kind of burying the lead here. Derek Queen, arguably the best overall play on the slate. 5,300. Only center eligible, which sucks, but we don't have that big opportunity cost at center tonight, at least not as big as we've had on other slates. Just projects too well at this price point with a high ceiling, and we've seen it. Like, he's just playing really good ball. He does a little bit of everything. I think he's a must play in all formats, and I would doubt that anything comes across this slate to change that. And we might get a lot more value, but it's not going to change for Queen being one of, if not the overall best play on the slate. I don't hate Alvarado at 3,600, especially, like I said, with New Orleans on a back-to-back. But again, I think this game's competitive, so I like starters all the way around here. Jalen Johnson, my favorite piece of Atlanta, is always. Queen, clearly the best piece of New Orleans. All righty. Washington at Chicago. Washington and the Bulls kind of were big disappointments last night. Washington in particular, though, was just not very good. Sarr and Bagley, both questionable here. Tristan Vukcevic was awful last night as one of the highest owned players of the year so far. It happens. He was a $3,200 starting center in a good matchup. You live and you learn. I didn't have 100% exposure, but I had enough where he wasn't good for me. So not happy about that. If both Sarr and and Bagley are out. Let me make sure he's not hurt himself. Yeah, no. If both Sarr and Bagley are out, I think we can go back to Vukcevic if he's starting, but clearly won't feel as good about it. If Sarr is out and Bagley's starting, sure, priced up now, and he's coming off an injury, so I'm not excited about it. But 4,500 starting center with no Sarr would be okay. Sarr himself, sure. Again, don't love coming off an injury, and I don't know if he plays here, but projects well at that price point, and which would be, again, another game that is definitely going to be high scoring. Whether Washington can keep it competitive or not remains to be seen. But I'm not like scared of Chicago. They're not a team where I'm too afraid to pick on, even with these also rans. But Washington's about as bad as it gets, so they can get blown out by anyone. I think they got blown out by at least one of, if not both, Brooklyn and Indiana recently. So yeah, that's rough. Other than that, from Washington, I like some pieces here. So we saw Champagnie get the second half start over Vukcevic. If he starts here, like Sarr is out and he starts, yeah, 3,100 starter, sure. I'm never like dying to play him, but at that price point in this matchup, if he starts, yes. Even if he doesn't start, I think he's at least worth looking at. Keyshawn George, big disappointment last night, but man, I have no problem going right back here. 6,300, missed a lot of his fourth quarter run, had gone on a little mini spurt too right before they took him out. So he's just too cheap for his upside. I mean, you look at his game log, and not even to be a game log watcher, multiple games that would be more than paying off his price tag out of the last 5. So I'm not playing him because of that. I just think his price is now a little bit too cheap. So I'm interested in George here. McCollum, even cheaper. A little more hesitant of him on a back-to-back. But again, if you think Washington's really competitive here, he's too cheap at 5,900. Trey Johnson, good game last night. I think he was on a minutes limit, so wouldn't be surprised if that continues here. Not excited about that with that minutes limit. If that somehow were off, though, I would be interested. Koulibaly, I'm fine with, but not excited about. Really, we'll have to wait and see on the big men, and then George, McCollum, and Champagnie. From the Bull side, kind of a wait-and-see approach here also. We're not projecting Buzelis in. He didn't return last night. Okoro also got hurt, so they might be very shorthanded. Giddey's always going to look good, especially in a matchup like this. He's expensive now, though. So you need big games from him, clearly. And not saying he can't do it. Clearly he can, but he's not like a lock for me that I think he is for some people, especially with Kobe White back. Now, it's a great matchup, and they're shorthanded. I like Giddey here. Don't get me wrong. Personally, though, if choosing one for one right now, give me Jalen Johnson over Giddey at basically the same price tag. I like both. Giddey's the best piece of Chicago. Kobe White's looked good since he's returned, and he's only going to play more minutes in each game he plays, I would presume. So 7,400, fine tag, good matchup. Yeah, I can dig that. Williams and Okoro, no thanks. I think Dosunmu, is okay. These guys are kind of pricey, and we'll just have to wait and see on the injury stuff here. Yeah, really for me right now, it would be Giddey, kind of White. I guess you could play Vooch, but I'm not like ever excited about playing Vooch. Good spot for him though. So Podol was really, really popular in the exact same spot last night. He was not good, but he was really popular for a reason. Moving on. This one's a little bit weird to see. Detroit an 8.5-point favorite in Milwaukee against the Bucks. Now I know Giannis is out, but still, that just goes to show you how well Detroit's playing, and they've got some pieces in play here. Now they've got some Q tags. Let's see about. Yeah, so the only real guy we're waiting to hear on is Tobias Harris, who hasn't played in like 9 games. I don't think. We'll just, again, if he's out, it's going to make all the other guys look a little bit better, but they're all priced for him to be out. If he's in, I'm not really interested in playing him personally. My favorite piece of Detroit here, and it sounds weird to say because he hasn't played all year, is Jaden Ivey. 3K on DK. We're projecting him for 24 minutes. Like, I'm a fan of Ivey. I like his game a lot. Was a top 5 pick a couple of years ago by Detroit. Certainly hasn't lived up to it and has struggled to share the backcourt with Cade. But at this price tag, all those concerns, even the minute concerns, are mitigated. He could 10x his tag in 20 minutes. Give me Ivey here at 3K, my favorite piece of Detroit. Cade at 10.6, perfectly fine spending up on Cade. Perfectly fine spending up on Cade. He's been great this year and has shown upside. And I think this game, to me at least, is likely at least is likely more competitive than the spread implies. Milwaukee at home, etc. Jalen Duren, been a beast this year. Seen the tag rise, but for good reason. Projects well for 36 fantasy points, high ceiling. Yeah, Duren, Cade, Ivy. I think Asar is fine, but I don't like him as much as the other guys. Ivy, Cade, Duren. I'd list those guys as how I like them, with Ivy right now the only like priority piece for me. That 3K tag is just too good to be true. Maybe it is too good to be true. Maybe he barely plays here. Presuming we get like Ivy's going to play 25 minutes here or 23 minutes here, I'm in on Ivy. All righty. Moving to the Milwaukee side. So my favorite piece of Milwaukee, and really the only guy that I want to play here, is Ryan Rollins. He's just been phenomenal for Milwaukee this whole year, especially when Giannis has been out. Projects for, a nice score at 7,700 with clearly a big ceiling in a game. Again, I think is going to be competitive, or at least more competitive than the spread implies. So, yeah, give me Rollins here. I like him quite a bit. I think one of the better guard options on the slate. After that, Kuzma and Portis priced up. I mean, I think any one of Kuzma, Portis, Turner, fine, but fine not playing them as well, if you get my drift. Cole Anthony, I think, is a nice pivot off of Rollins at a much cheaper tag coming off the bench, but really that's all it is for me at this point. I don't think playing both of them is crazy on this slate. I just think there's better options. Now we get to, I think, my favorite game of the night from a DFS perspective. We've got two bad teams. To put it mildly, just what it is. Dallas got rolled by New Orleans at home last night. Memphis coming off a win against one of the other worst teams in the league, Sacramento. But both these teams, you never know what you're going to get on any given night. 1.5 point spread here. Dallas is a 1.5 point home favorite. I like a lot from this game. If I were stacking a game, even without like the crazy high total, this is my favorite game to stack. I think you see turnovers, a really close game. So I'm in on this game. Dallas, obviously, on the second half of a back-to-back. Memphis coming off that trouncing of the said Kings, as I mentioned. So starting off with the Memphis side, Vince Williams, he's just been awesome. His price tag's up there, 5,700, but I don't think he's not too expensive. Maybe it's where it should be at this point, but I think if anything, it's only going to grow a little bit because I like him in this spot. I think he's projected a little bit too low. I like him quite a bit. Coward and Aldama, price tags are up, but I like them here. They've been good. No Jaren Jackson, obviously no Ja. I like the same guys we liked last slate. Aldama, Coward, Zach Edey's been good. I think Cam Spencer off the bench is in play. Williams, Aldama, Coward, Edey are the four guys I want to get to, and I think Wells is fine in tournaments, is like a flyer at 4,300. All right, last but not least, we've got the aforementioned Mavericks here. So D'Angelo Russell missed last night's game. No idea if he's going to play here. If he's out, I'll go right back to Brandon Williams. Put up a pretty decent score last night and couldn't make a shot. So presuming he shoots a little bit better here, I'm in on Williams in a good spot against Memphis. So, yeah, I like Brandon Williams quite a bit if D'Lo's out. Even if D'Lo's in, I don't mind him, but a priority play for me if D'Lo's out. PJ Washington, I like. Cooper Flag, I like. I think I like Flag slightly more than Washington, but I think you're quibbling there. We'll have to wait and see on the centers. I think for me, the only priority play from Dallas for me would be Brandon Williams, but then I do like Flag and PJ Washington in a game that I think is more competitive, or not more competitive. I think is as competitive as the spread indicates. Two not good teams, and sometimes when those games happen, you get shit shows for DFS purposes, but sometimes you get the nuts. So I like pieces in this game, especially from Memphis. I like Brandon Williams from Dallas. To roll back on what I said a little bit, though, price tags are up on the Memphis guys. So they're not as like lockish as they were a couple days ago, but still very, very good plays with Jaren Jackson being out again tonight. That is what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Any and all feedback is always appreciated. I'll be around this weekend if you have any NBA questions. If you're a member, the Slate Plan and Core will be up later this afternoon. And that's all I got for you guys. I appreciate it as always. Have a great weekend and have a happy Thanksgiving next week.